Productions.
Nice. Welcome to another episode of Faces Behind the Voices. Today we have, I'd call him a media guru. Even if he looking young, he started at a very young age, loving the microphone, wanting to be part of radio and the whole media industry. Today we welcome Mr. Fazeer Rojan. Fazeer.
What's happening, King? It's a pleasure always, not just to be in your company, but to have some of these long, meaningful, and sometimes long pants conversations that we tend to have, whether in person or in the studio, that I've heard so many of your other guests allude to and talk about, you know. So always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure to be inside with Rumal, the Don Castillo.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, Fazeer, I see you have been following all the episodes so far, and you have been also commenting, and I thank you for your positive feedback. And, you know, today is your day to actually shine and give the people a little insight on what Fazeer does and where Fazeer started to where Fazeer is today in a very short and condensed version, because we know you started at a very early age. So I am not going to say anything else. All I'm going to ask you is to give the people, the viewers, where you started and where you are today.
Well, I started at a very young age. I was a primary school student, and every morning I would get up and go to my grandfather's shop. And he was an avid newspaper reader, and I developed that newspaper reading habit from him. And eventually I started reading out loud, and I would pretend as though I was reading the news for an audience, you know, as if I were on radio or television or something of the sort. And so the habit really started then. Fast forward to A-levels, and when I started A-levels at the current Teachers Training College, there was an ad by Holly Thomas and Edison Carr, who ran the Announcers Broadcast Academy, ABA, on French Street in Woodbrook. I was only 16 at the time. I heard the ad and I thought to myself, yes, this is what I was born for. I had to go do this. You know, people say it's like a calling, and you can't understand why you're so driven to go in that direction. That's how I felt at 16. And so I called Mr. Thomas and pleaded my case, because he didn't want to take me because I wasn't 18. And he said no. The next thing he knew was that I showed up at the ABA on a good Saturday morning to plead my case in person. And I think that's what really sort of made him say yes. So I joined the class at the age of 16 while I was doing A-levels. Classes were Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So I'd finish A-levels at 2:30 in Current and make the journey up to Port of Spain, French Street. This was my first time, by the way, heading into Port of Spain on my own. Classes finishing at 8:30, 5:30 to 8:30, and traveling back down the road. So it was a long, arduous, somewhat dangerous, frightening journey at the start, but it worked out. By the time I turned 18, I started working. I got a job at Bel Air Store in Marabella on the electronics aisle, fresh out of A-levels, and I sent a demo into 103. They were on the hunt for a new DJ. I sent in my demo. I got a call to go do an on-air demo. I thought to myself during that stint on air, I think we had like 20 minutes or half an hour on air, and I thought to myself, I'm never going to be back in a radio studio again. So you know what? I am going to just have fun and make use of this experience. And that resulted in me beating the people's studio table like a drum, like in an old rum shop somewhere, singing and that sort of stuff. And I think that's where they kind of realized, well, listen, he can't sing, but he knows how to entertain, you know? And so I think that's kind of what tipped me over the edge, just being myself. So from very early on, I learned the importance of authenticity. And I started right away, like a couple of months later. I demoed in December, and I was confirmed in February to start at the station of 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
You say you beat the people table like in our old rum shop?
Yeah, boy.
You said something there that I want people to understand. Being yourself.
Yeah.
Authenticity is very important.
Yeah. 100%. In fact, I think it's singularly the most important thing, and I'll tell you why. As you would know from some of the broadcasting boot camps that we had done, one of the subjects that I covered was the topic of authenticity. Now, authenticity is a recent buzzword. In radio in the early days, it wasn't called authenticity as in to be authentic. We were told the opposite, which was don't be pretentious, right? So pretentiousness was one of the P's that we learned. And a lot of folks will remember this. Back in the day, there were a lot of trainees on radio stations that were sounding more American American than American. And that was pretentiousness. We were trying to be something that we were not. And then we fast forward to, are you brave enough to be your authentic self and put yourself on the line? Because authenticity requires bravery in a Rumal. It could be devastating to your psychology, let me put it that way. If you put your authentic self out there, people trample on that. Because putting yourself out there in that open, transparent manner, it's very taxing.
Being a radio presenter, announcer, did that help you in any way? I wouldn't say transition, but started to do the voice acting part of it for the corporate brands. What gave you that extra push to say, hey, I want to try working with ad agencies or direct clients?
So the goal when live, especially when presented with live scripts, was always to try to bring life to these scripts on air. And if you're doing that on air, why not do it recorded? That's one motivation. So, it's like it started live where you're trying to master your live presentation of these things. And many times over, a lot of these scripts you're not able to read beforehand. So there's no interpretation. There's literally first time you see a script, it's the first time you're presenting it on air. You use the correct word there, transitioned, because I started spending more time in the production studio at the station recording ads. I would do a lot of ads for whichever clients came in, and the station requested that we record these ads, which was not paid for. It was expected that this was part of your duty to record ads for the station, But then I heard that you would get paid for these things when you work with agencies. And I had the opportunity, I don't remember the first time, but I had the opportunity when an agency would have called the station looking for a voice, and somebody from the station who would have taken that call would have recommended myself or, whoever else. And that's how I would have gotten my break. And I'd like to stick a pin in there to say, when the agencies called our station, they didn't call our station to request a specific voice. We were not that big in the business. They called the station because somebody or whatever client they were working on or whatever production they were working on, they wanted an Indian voice, whatever that's supposed to be, right? That's how I would have got my break, because somebody was looking for an Indian voice. And so they said, well, call the Indian station and get a voice from there. Eventually, I realized that I was only getting called for Diwali ads, Indian Arrival Day ads, Eid al-Fitr ads, things along these lines, or for clients who were selling things to the Indo community, and they wanted very cliched sounding Indo ads with a little sitar or some kind of thing in the background. And I got fed up of it. And the first person I ever vented that to actually was you. And I think that was really where our relationship started, because you shared that sentiment as well, that what exactly is an Indian voice.
To hear you bring up that is something that I was actually going to discuss with you. And you just said everything in a nutshell. I was approached already for an Indian voice. Now, I don't know. I started to ask myself, what is an Indian voice? And I asked the person, what is an Indian voice? So me now had to try and figure out, okay, there's no such thing as an Indian voice. Maybe it is, we need a voice to connect to the Hindu population, which I still disagree with. I don't think ethnicity has anything to do with voice.
Right.
We had this conversation and we both, disagreed with the whole fact of someone asking for an Indian voice. And you know what? I decided I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use these people who work on an Indian station, right, that plays Indian music to do non-cultural ads.
Yeah. If my voice is right for that client, is right for this project, then I'd just like to be considered. That's all it was. I'd like to be considered based on my credibility, based on my capability, and not be written off because of my ethnicity.
Exactly. So
yeah.
As you're in that little zone there, what will be your memorable experience job-wise, a voice job, that you would remember that probably would connect back to what you just said?
That would be one of our first experiences together, where you called me to do some campaigns for a company that was involved in the business of barfi. And this agency exec, whoever who or she was, sent very strict guidelines that they wanted the word barfi, what we know as barfi, they wanted it pronounced barfi, like a BHHARFI, barfi. And they're saying to us that this is how it is supposed to be pronounced. I don't know where they got their this Middle Eastern twang from. But I remember telling you, King, and I took a stance in the studio that day, and I told you, I said, bro, I ain't putting my voice to an ad that says Barfi. Because when Big Stone start a pelt partner, nobody ain't going to want to hear is some ad agency exec sitting hoity-toity in an office somewhere. I ain't doing that. And the good thing was that you shared my sentiments. You were like, partner, this is what they want. I agree with you. This is what they want, but I agree with your stance. And I'm not sure how the communication went between you and them, but we ended up getting the job done with the pronunciation of Barfi and not Barfi.
Yeah. I'm not always right. And I will ask questions. Like some people would say Caribbean and some people would say Caribbean.
Yeah.
Correct. You know which one it is. A lot of people say, no, it's Caribbean, and a lot of people will say, no, it's Caribbean. And it all depends in the context that you use it.
It's come full circle to you saying that triggered this thought to me that, your tagline for Voice It is that, and for these productions, is that your voice matters. I didn't think about this beforehand, but I have to say that that's exactly how I think you made your talent feel. Like, even in that situation, you could have simply said, partner, the ad agency paying the bills. They're the ones that cut in this check. You either do what they want to do or head up the road. And that wasn't the stance. You've always empowered, at least myself, I could speak about, but from what I've heard from your other talents, you've afforded them that same grace and opportunity to be able to say, well, okay, I interpret this differently. Could we come to a compromise somewhere? And this is really the best approach to get the best of all the worlds, because as we would have seen in that example with the ad agency exec that we just spoke about, they're not always right. We try to look at things from a viewpoint of what is right and what is wrong. This is also an art form, and it requires interpretation. Every single script and piece that you work on, Romuald, requires interpretation. And with every new person interpreting it, you will get a different outcome.
Correct. And you said something earlier on, which is bringing words to life.
Yeah.
Bringing words to life is taking these words on this piece of paper and making you envision or making you feel to be part of the commercial or part of what is being said. You're right, boy, your voice matters, and I always love the input. We do 3 sets of recording. My recording, agency client recording, your recording. I want to be able to hear what you're feeling inside. Maybe what you're feeling inside is the correct thing.
Before you ask that next question there, I just want to add this into the conversation we were having earlier. I have to say that one of the biggest challenges I faced when you asked about voice acting was getting out of the announcer mindset and intonations to be able to really delve into the realm of voice acting. And I have to say that in hindsight, I mean, even then, but especially now in hindsight, I appreciate the patience that you would have had, but I also appreciate the vision and the foresight that you would have had and the belief that you had in us that they have potential. I just need to tap into it, because voice acting wasn't something for which training was readily available back then. A lot of my initial voice acting training I got from you by your direction in studio. You being able to say, well, okay, no, don't give me that announcer voice. You see how your natural tendency is to go back into announcer voice. This is what I want. I want you to envision the character, and then you provided the context for the character that you're looking for and say, well, okay, this is what I want. This is the nuance. This is the tone. This is the whatever. And you provide that creative direction, which is something that I think from the few times that I've worked with persons prior to you, it was not an experience that was afforded to us in studio. Usually, I would have gone into studio, and it's literally like a slapdash. It's like scripts go in there. Yeah, drop a voice now. You drop a voice, maybe do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 takes, and then boom, you're gone. So the biggest challenge there was to get over my own self and that on-air persona and really be neutral, get back to a neutral stance, as Raymond Choo Kong said, get back to neutrality, and then only offer what is asked of you from the character.
Just answered the next question I was about to ask, which was, what are some of the challenges that you have encountered over the years? So I guess that was one of the main challenges for you trying to, and it's not just you alone, a lot of radio personalities, radio announcers, to get them to act it out, it was really hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard for them, but they did. And again, you just said with the right coaching, with the right, direction, you got it out. And you know what? You're going to hear it because I'm going to play some ads for you that you would say, oh, yes. Just 3 ads I'm going to play. I'm going to touch 3 ads for you to hear your corporate tone, your little acting tone. I just want to see the expression on your face when I play these commercials because these things were done years ago.
So before you play that, I do want to say this though. You spoke about all of the other things or some of the other things that I do. And I will say that getting out of that announcer headset strictly and being able to get to neutrality and offer or put out what is asked of has benefited me not just in voice acting and in the recording of commercials, etc., but even with stage presence and presentation. And like, for instance, in hosting events, etc., I was recently the host of an event where the original host couldn't make it. And I was asked to come and fill in, right? The original host was a comedian. And so I was asked to come and play the role of a comedian at this event, right? I don't do stand-up comedy and box jokes. I like spontaneous things. I'll do my homework and I'll try to, get the comedy as it comes along. And being able to do that, Romuald, let's put it this way, I would not have been able to do that if I didn't start the process of getting out of my own head many, many years ago with you in that studio, being able to get back to neutrality. It's not easy to get to a neutral space, bro, when you've been doing something for this long.
Wow. You know what? I'm not going to wait any further. Let me touch it one time.
Sure.
Fazeer, this is your voice. I'm going to do corporate first. Tell me if you remember this.
All right, your trim done. That will be $20, please.
Oh gosh, all I have is $100 US. You have change?
You feel this is FX Trader or what?
For all your foreign currency needs, FX Trader is the place for you. To change your foreign currency quick and easy, visit one of our 22 conveniently located outlets nationwide.
Boss man, what you doing?
I'm sticking back all this here on your big head.
Change your foreign currency today with FX Trader, the foreign exchange place from Grace Kennedy, or call us at 625-3423.
Before we go, Baba in this commercial, that is the late great Clifford Lemon, right?
Right.
It was Clifford a couple years ago. You know what, may God continue to rest his soul. But Clifford was a great one. And well, I was the other actor. We're gonna But do you remember that?
Not all of it, no. I listened to that, I heard my voice, and I know that's my voice. But all I could think about is that does not sound like me. Oh my God, I was so young.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
that
let
is
me
not
see if I get time on that.
That is not my voice anymore, yo.
That was about 2011, 2012, 2010, somewhere around there. Watch me. See if you remember this one.
Remember Raju and Priya? They got married, but even the best romance has a few problems.
Raju! He forgot his cell phone again. Wait, like someone sent a message. Call me Leela?
Meanwhile, with Raju,
I love Priya, especially when she adds Maggie's season up all-purpose to her green fig dal curry. But Tanti saw a strange man visit Priya yesterday.
will Maggie save their marriage? Stay tuned for Choka Janjat Maggie Mohabbat. A story with food always has a happy ending.
I remember those. Those I remember. Now that you played it back, I remember that. This was a fun campaign actually.
That was your acting side. And it was a non-religious ad. And I'm going to give one more acting ad. One more. Yeah. I got stuff.
Richard, so many pictures of Aishwarya Rai, Priyanka Chopra and Preeti Zinta on your phone?
It's just wallpapers I downloaded from B-Mobile Buzz.
And no pictures of me?
Well, you're not a Bollywood star.
Love Bollywood? Get the latest Bollywood ringtones, wallpapers, themes and much more exclusively from B-Mobile Buzz. Sign up now. Text WAP, manufacturer name and model number to 6827 and start downloading.
Look, I didn't complain about the Salman Khan picture you had on your phone, huh?
Do not bring Salman into this.
B-Mobile, TNT's #1 mobile network.
You remember that one?
Now that you play it, yes. But if you did not share that and you asked me in theory about this ad that I recorded and you gave me the script, it would be foreign to me. It just feels like it's been so long.
That was, I think that was, let me see the time on that one, boy. That's 2008, man.
Wow.
That was 2008. I think if I recall, I don't know, was that Tapshir?
It may have been.
Yes.
It may have
I
been.
think that was Tapshir because Tapshir is the one recommended you when I was looking for the voice.
Tapshir coincidentally was the one who was hosting the show on air that I debuted on. So he was the one who also saw that potential in me and said, hey, this is the guy.
Wow. Fazeer, that is just a taste of some of the ads you would have done with me back in the day. And, we come from far to where we are now. I don't know how much work you're doing right now, and things kind of slow down for me, but it was always a pleasure working with you. And as we said, not just the work, but the old talk, the heights behind our conversation, the men talk. I miss those days, but you know what? It's in my heart and I cherish it. And that's why I am doing this program, to say thank you to you all for being part of my journey, this whole voice acting creative journey. And I wouldn't change anything else with this.
I'll say this in summary. Even in the moment when you would have afforded these opportunities, I am sure that at those points in time, myself and the other talents you would have worked with, we would have all said thanks in one way or the other. But you really begin to have a greater appreciation for the journey. Hindsight, as they say, is 20/20. And when you can look back and you see how all these little pieces fit together and how all these little seemingly insignificant things made you into the talent, honed the skill set, developed your personality in a way that allowed you to then morph into something else or play another role or take another step up or forward, you begin to appreciate it even more. You didn't know that the challenges that you faced during these days would be the challenges that were preparing you for your ability to take steps towards greater things and different things and unique things, So in hindsight, I can look back on all of this now and say, King, during that time, it was the best time. And I can look back now and say that time was one of the best times in terms of the opportunities for growth, in terms of just the sheer entertainment factor. Like you talk about the old talk, the blagging, the man cave kind of vibes from time to time. It was everything and more. It was a full experience. Going by rumor was always a full experience. And I went to your brother at 3 different studios, right? So the last one in Belmont, prior to that you were...
Street.
Correct. And before that, where I met you the first time.
Can't remember. I don't think that was my studio at the time.
That would have been, right, you were with the agencies or something at the time?
Yeah, I think I was with the agency at the time.
Right.
What would you tell aspiring voice actors?
Aspiring voice actors, I would say if you're going to get into a creative field such as this, arts and entertainment, don't stop at voice acting. Get into it fully. Try stage. Try radio, try television, try video, because one supports the other, one provides the foundation for the other, and it also gives you the skill set that you need in return for the others. It all just goes kind of hand in hand, it's interwoven, and don't just stop yourself halfway. Don't feel you need to focus only on your voice, when if you also focus on facial, for TV, for video, or for stage, it would also help your voice. So get into the entire thing. This is a creative space, and there's no limit to your creativity. The only limitation there is yourself. And I think it's the self-doubt that really limits people. So if you're going to get into it, immerse yourself into it. It is the only way you'd really be able to be your full, authentic self and tap into that full barrel of potential that you're sitting on.
Wow, some knowledge there for you all. Some knowledge. Fazeer, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man, especially this weekend.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for believing in me and trusting me to help you and guide you where your voice is concerned, and breaking that I don't want to say fear, but transitioning your voice from announcer style to actor style. I've seen where you came from, and I know where you are at now. And we're only going to go forward with more voice acting, and who knows what's next. But thank you very much for your time and everything, bro.
Most welcome, brother. In closing, I want to say this. I have already told some of the folks at the station that I think that these interviews that you have conducted and published really should be considered essential viewing and essential conversations that should be digested by anyone and everyone at the station, on air and in production, because it wasn't just about the voice talents. It was about the attitudes. Like Hans, spoke about humility and being with somebody better and learning from them. And if you are better, teaching someone. And there was so many nuggets of information and real life advice and tips. And it's just everybody involved in the creative spaces and in media should consider this essential viewing, because you're literally condensing, King, decades of experience and talent into 20, 30-minute videos. And this really is phenomenal. So as much as you may think that this is a very humble effort, it may have started off like that, but this has the potential to be a golden teaching opportunity for everybody else coming on board. So
But we don't know.
thank you for that, bro.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. We don't know where it's going to go, but on to the next one.
On to the next. All
right.
I like that. Yeah, okay, for sure.
All right.
Brother, a pleasure, always.
Thank you very much, Fazeer. Have a great day, buddy.
You too, Noble. Take care, man. Bye.
Bye, man. Take care. Bye.
Voice It Productions.